Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Soon the frost will come and kill your flowers. You can save their beauty by pressing them. Also, now is the time to get the ground ready for next year. One way to do that is with a lasagna garden. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Mary Hine. Miss Mary is a master gardener right here in Shelby County. And Miss Jenny Fletcher will be joining us later. Hi, Miss Mary.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Yes.
Pressing.
I started this years and years ago. I saw this flower press in a catalog, and I thought, you know, that'd be cool to try. So I got this. I haven't found one since that is this nice, but they have them out there. They're usually smaller.
Okay.
And I try and pick flowers from all seasons and add them to my collection. I just keep it all in a box, but you know, I pick them out and do things with them every once in a while.
Okay.
I'm going to show you how, with this particular press, the object of the press is to put pressure in a balanced way so that the whole page that you're pressing will get the equal amounts of pressure, and then your flowers are not don't have a pattern on them, or they're not completely not pressed.
Okay. So you use the flowers in your yard?
Yeah, I use
Most of the
anything
time?
in my yard. I try and pansies are an excellent thing to press. I've tried all kinds of things, and that's part of the fun, is to try something different.
Sure.
Try the different kinds of flowers to see how it works. So this part is you always have some kind of top pressure or bottom pressure. Some of them you buy now will have screws on each end, and you tighten those up, and that's the same premise here. Now you would start with some cardboard.
And that's just regular cardboard?
Yes,
right?
you can use any kind of cardboard. And then you have 2 pieces of paper.
And again, regular?
This,
There's a certain type of paper
yeah,
you
you
need?
want some moisture absorbent paper. Some people use paper towels. That's not good because paper towels have a little pattern to them, and it will transfer to your plant.
Okay.
So use any kind of, you can use even typing paper or something like that, or printer paper, but you can go online and look for a paper that is moisture absorbent.
Okay. Good.
And here's some that have been done. I just put little petals.
It's neat though.
Yeah. You have to pick them up either with some tweezers or gently lift them off. And they will come off pretty easily. And see how brilliant that turned out? It's a little pansy.
It almost doesn't
pretty?
look real. How about that?
I know.
Okay.
And I kind of sort them by colors in a little tray here, so that you can, if you're going to do something by color, then you want them sorted out. Now see, like these, I thought these would turn out really nice. It's a coleus. You know how lovely those are?
Yes.
But it presses rather dull. But it's like Christmas morning, you open it up and see what you got, you know? And that's part of the fun of it.
I can see you having fun with this.
Yeah,
right?
I do. I
Christmas
really
morning.
like it.
All right. Okay.
And these are little, I think it's I've forgotten the name of it. But you see how brilliant some of them are. The thinner they are, the better it presses.
Okay.
I have some here I could show you that, you know, if they have a thick center, like for example on this particular thing, this is a plaque in a zinnia. It's so thick, it ain't gonna press real solid.
Okay.
So a lot of times I just take the petals off of it and just press the petals. So these will either come off and I'll just store them. Don't have to store them in any particular way. And they'll usually peel off easily when you bend the page.
Yeah, because you don't want those to get any moisture or anything like that when
Right.
you store them, right?
But you know, I haven't really gotten into the storing of them. They seem to do fine the way I've done them.
Okay.
But you see on the back of this, I don't know if you can see it, but it did even pick up some pattern
Oh, shit. Okay. I see
from
it.
the paper and the cardboard,
Okay.
because the cardboard has some lines and inside it. Once you press
Alright.
it can get on your flower.
Okay.
So now I thought we'd press something. We got some Dusty Miller, and you would have your cardboard, your 2 pieces of paper, and you just lay them on there. And you can see why if it was thick, it would be hard to press it, you know, like a daisy or a zinnia. It doesn't really matter how you lay them on there. Try and
So
get
there's
it.
no pattern or
No.
anything like that. You just put it down.
Yeah, and use up as much paper as you can, because you know this is made for a lot of flowers. You could press a lot in here, but if you've got a small one like I was talking about, you could buy now. Just do a few things,
Okay.
but try and do it for the entire year. Do some different kinds of items in there and see how they work. Just put the other piece on top, piece of cardboard. I usually use 2 pieces of cardboard on the top, because when you push this down, it kind of, you know, there's a lot of pressure on it, so I don't want it to dent or make a hole in there. And put it back together and tighten it up. Now you tighten it, leave it alone for a day or so, come back and tighten it a little more, because it'll loosen up as things press down. It'll loosen up, so you'll just tighten it just a little bit
Just
more.
a little bit more. Okay.
So what you can do with these, for example, these are some autumn leaves that I pressed
beautiful.
last year. Not all of them will press real colorfully, but the shapes and the design of the plant itself really, I mean, this is a fatsia leaf.
Yeah.
Now, if things are not real colorful, that more than not as much as you want, then there's a spray paint you can get at Michael's, and it's made for dried plants. And you can spray them and give them a little punch. I do a lot of this, spraying of the dried material, because I use them in flower arranging and flower designs. I do participate in flower shows competition.
I could have figured that, right?
And so
I could tell, Miss Mary.
So I have done several things as examples. There's a section in flower shows called Botanical Arts.
Okay.
And they have certain types of things that you can enter your design in. This, for example, is a collage. It's just a mishmash of all kinds of flowers that I put together.
That's cool. I can see the Dusty Miller in there.
Yeah, Dusty Miller in here. These are
Yeah,
hydrangeas. I have a
hydrangeas.
lot
Nice.
of hydrangeas.
Okay.
A lot of pansy. Like I said, pansies are so pretty
Yeah,
when
those are nice.
you press them.
Okay.
This is another collage. Now this is equasedum. This is how it pressed, just
Yeah, it
as
looks
flat
cool
as
pressed.
it could.
Yeah,
Isn't
almost
it
like a
cool?
knife.
It is, and you can. I sprayed it with a little of this green, and you see how I made it pop out.
Okay.
So, you know, it doesn't. You're not really doing anything bad to it. I don't think. I think it's fine to spray paint the dried material. You don't spray paint the fresh, but certainly the dried.
Now, before we run out of time, do tell us about the shoes.
Okay. The
Yes,
shoes
those are neat.
are, I won a blue ribbon for this in a flower show. I used all dried materials. I used lichen, moss, all kinds of pressed flowers, covered a pair of flip-flops. That was the category in the flower show, a pair of shoes.
Pair of shoes.
So I won a big blue ribbon on that. I was very happy.
Well, look, Miss Mary, we appreciate this demonstration.
Okay,
We
thank
hope other
you.
folks will get involved just like you have.
Yeah, I hope they enjoy it.
I can tell you enjoyed that.
I do.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
All right. There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you.
All right, Miss Jenny, we're going to talk about lasagna gardening, and I like lasagna. It's one of my favorites.
I do too, especially in this mode that we're going to play with today.
Right, the plants will love it, right?
They do.
Yes,
They really
yes,
do. You know, the traditional method for us to plant a garden or a flower pot bed is to remove all the sod and the weeds, and then till it up, and then dig it up, because you need a good depth for the nutrients and things to get to the plants.
Okay.
And that's a lot of work.
Yes.
So a lot of people say, well, I can't garden because I'm not physically able to do that.
Right.
I don't own a tiller. I don't want to rent one, and I just can't do all that kind of work. Or maybe they feel like they're just too old to do that.
Yeah, that's
But you know, we don't ever get too old to play in the dirt.
No.
So this is a method by which you can garden and not have to do all that work.
Oh, really? All
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really a simple way to create a good garden bed.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do first is determine where we're going to put this.
Okay.
And the reason we want to do that is if we plant vegetables or shrubs or perennials, they're going to need from 6 to 8 hours of sun. So we need to be sure we put it in the right place when we start.
Okay.
And we probably would do a soil test so that we're sure that we've got the nutrients we need, and if we don't, we can amend them throughout this process.
Correct.
Then we gather up all our materials. We want to have browns and greens. Browns for carbon, greens for nitrogen. And we're going to build this, and it's going to become sort of like one big compost pile that we can just leave alone and let it work.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of this, is least amount of work.
Yeah, leave it alone, let
Yeah.
it work. Okay.
And let's just start the layers. How about
Let's
that?
start it. Let's start it.
First thing we want to do is to find our location, and then we're going to use either cardboard or some thick layers of newspaper. Okay. What we're doing is we're going to put that down on the ground, and we are going to cover all of the soil and the grass and all the weeds with this cardboard and or the newspaper. And we're going to wet that down so that it stays put. That will prevent our weeds and our grass from continuing to grow.
Wow, even Bermuda won't grow through that stuff?
No, sir, it will kill it dead.
Yes.
That's what we need
Yeah,
to
that's
do.
what you need, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we're going to add some peat moss.
Okay.
We're going to have a layer of peat moss.
Now, peat
when-
moss is pretty dry.
it is pretty dry, and we will probably do a little bit of watering in between. We don't want to wet it down really a lot,
Okay.
but we do want to be sure that we have enough coverage, because we're aiming for a 2-to-1 ratio of
Yeah, I was
browns
going to
and
ask you about
greens.
that ratio now. Okay.
Okay. Don't breathe while I'm spreading this around. All
Yeah,
right.
it is dry.
Now we've got us a layer of peat. Now we're going to follow that with some good old straw. Now we want to use straw and not hay. It takes hay a long time to decompose.
Okay.
Straw decomposes very quickly.
All right.
And in the process of hay, you get all kinds of seeds that are going to sprout and grow in your
Yes.
pile that you really don't want. So we're going to do that. Look at our layer and be sure it's good and thick.
So far, so good.
Yeah. Now, when we're doing this on the ground, when we're actually doing it, not in a demonstration, you would probably want to have about 4 to 8 inches of this straw.
Ah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. All right, now then we're going to add another layer of peat. As
More
you can
peat.
see, this is like a cake. We're just layering it along as we go.
And you would
And
still
recycle-
still water that too, right? Just a little bit.
Just a little. Recycled coffee cans
I
make
see that's
great
working
scoops.
great. Yeah. That works good.
All right. Now we got some more of that. Okay, I've covered up my stuff here. Got everything everywhere. Let's add at this point some shredded newspaper.
Shredded newspaper.
Yeah. We don't have much of this anymore with the
No.
newspapers not being our main focus of media anymore, but you can get this from your shredder where you shred your office supplies and things. So it's not hard to come by.
Now, what
Right.
about the ink? Do we need to be concerned about ink?
No.
Newspaper or anything like that?
No, most of the ink nowadays is very, what do you call it, edible.
Okay.
It's soy based.
Yeah.
So it will compost very easily
Okay.
and will not give us any harmful additives in our deal.
Okay. So
now
how thick do we need to get the paper layer?
our paper layer is going to be probably another 4-6 inches.
Okay.
Now we're not doing that in this particular demo because we'll run out of room.
Right, right.
Because ultimately you want 18 to 24 inches of this.
Okay.
Because as it sits during the winter
gonna-
and compost, it's
Right.
going to shrink.
Yeah.
So now we're going to add some barnyard manure.
Oh.
This is the fun part.
Oh. Barnyard.
I always use barnyard too. Pet
No.
manure is not a good thing to use because there are many kinds of bacteria and things that you can get from that. But barnyard manure is really good, and it can even be green when you put it in your lasagna bed if you're doing it in the winter, because it has time to cure
Okay.
and compost. If you put
looking
green
good.
in too early, you're going to end up with fried plants.
Yeah. Don't cook it.
Yeah. All right. One other point, you need to use dark fingernail polish.
Oh, dark fingernail polish.
That way your
I was
dirty
gonna say
fingernails.
gloves.
Yeah, I don't usually wear gloves,
Okay,
and that's
dark
that's
fingernail
bad.
polish.
But dark fingernail
Ladies,
polish
okay.
covers up a lot.
So here it goes.
Okay.
Right?
And now we're going to put a layer of compost on top of that.
All right. So top it off with the compost.
Now then, if we were doing this in the spring, we would compost it, and then we would add a very good layer, a good thick layer of good garden soil,
Okay.
so that we could go ahead and plant. But since this is the fall and this is the best time to do this, we might dust it a little bit with some bone meal for to add phosphorus and potassium.
Okay.
Some bone meal and some even wood ashes would be good to add.
Okay.
And that just
Good
let it
potash.
sit.
Okay.
Yeah. Now once you get to your height you're aiming for, which is 18 to 24 inches, then you're done.
And you're done.
And we haven't dug the first hole.
That's not bad, huh?
That's not bad.
Yeah.
So you
That's
just
not bad at
continue layering just like we did till you
So
get to the
continue up.
height you want, 18 to 24 inches, and then let it sit throughout the winter
Okay.
with a good covering of compost.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, do you have to cover it or can you just leave it? Or?
You don't have to cover it as long as you've got a real good layer of compost on top
Okay.
to keep the wind from blowing it and keep the water from washing it away.
So you want some good organic compost though, right?
Organic
Something that can be
compost.
broken down?
Yes,
Okay.
always.
Always.
Use organic if at all possible,
All possible.
in all of this.
Okay.
That's the best way to go.
All right, Miss Jenny, we appreciate that.
Yeah, wasn't that fun?
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
And we even just
I
got
didn't
dirty.
really get that dirty. Yeah. My nails look okay too, right?
Oh, well,
So
yours
we're
look
good.
fine. Mine are a little bit nasty.
So thank you much.
You're welcome.
One of the issues that we have with some of the trees that grow together, when the limbs are close together, they have a tendency to rub. See how the close proximity of these two branches are, or two leaders? That is what we call included bark. And that's when the tree limbs, as they grow closer and closer together, and the bark gets included. It looks like it's grown together, but it really isn't. And inside there, it will have a tendency to hold water, dirt, carpenter ants, and different things like that. That's what we call a V-crotch. So if you look up in the tree, you'll see that there's a seam. The seam goes all the way up to where the branches aren't touching. That's your included bark. The dark stain that you see there is where that water or moisture and dirt is starting to ooze out, where it's building up at the top. So it comes down as that dark, dirty water like that. if you can follow my laser pointer, the green laser pointer, this section right here where you see where that seam is, where it's the bottom of, almost the bottom of where the included bark is, that is a great entrance hole for carpenter ants and other boring insects. They can make a home right up inside there, and it's perfect for them.
All right, ladies, here's our Q&A segment. Y'all ready?
We hope so.
These are some good questions. All right, here's our first viewer email. My oak tree started dropping leaves early. Do I need to be concerned? And this is Emily from Collierville. So Miss Jenny, does Emily need to be concerned about those leaves dropping early?
Well, you know, she could be concerned, or it may be just the conditions of our weather that we've had. And that may have caused them to drop early. Sometimes a tree, if it has insects that are bothering it, it will lose its leaves on purpose. So that's something that we wouldn't know unless we saw the tree itself.
Right.
I probably would not be concerned, would you?
With the drought we've had, you know,
Exactly.
a lot of leaves are starting to fall early,
Yes.
so I wouldn't worry about it. You know, I always forget to water my trees. I really do, and that you really should pay attention to that.
You should water those trees. So, you know, Wes Hopper's always good about talking about watering trees. I think we neglect trees a lot.
Trees consume a lot of water.
A lot of water.
A lot of water.
Right,
And
so-
they need it.
They need it, but yeah, if you go back to our environmental conditions, drought-like conditions,
Well,
for
we
a
had
couple of
wet.
months.
We had wet so long.
So yeah, we started out wet.
And then we went to hot, and then we went to excessively dry. And so the tree's just trying to conserve its
Yeah.
energy.
And they have to compensate. You know, doesn't
Right.
need the
Have
leaves.
to
It's going to
get
be like,
rid of
what?
that.
Let me throw these off.
Right.
Let me throw them off so I can live. So, Emily, I wouldn't be concerned. Now, I would be concerned next spring if you didn't have any buds that develop into leaves. But yeah, if you get the buds, you get the leaves next spring, no problem.
Be good to go.
No problem. I think it's just environmental stress. All right, thank you, Emily, for that question. Here's our next viewer email. Whilst I was away, my bromeliad was overwatered. It has flowered and has 3 pups. I think my bromeliad's roots are rotting. Should I remove the pups now for replanting, or should I wait? And this is Barbara from YouTube. So, Miss Mary, what do you think about that one, huh?
Well,
about
I think if those pups are a third to a half size of the mother plant,
Okay.
go ahead and remove them. If they don't have any root system, that's okay. Put them in a soft soil and just anchor them, because you don't want to bury them too far down.
Right.
And anchor it with little sticks or something so that it would stand up. Eventually the roots will grab on. Okay. But yeah, if they're big enough, I would, yeah.
If they're not big enough, I guess the first thing I do was repot the plant. Get it
It's a
in
thought.
some
Yeah.
good
It's a thought.
medium that's not soaked in the water, and sometimes they will continue to grow.
Right. I'm going back to the bromeliad roots are rotting. What kills more houseplants than anything else?
Too much
Too
water.
much
Too
water.
much water. So we have to make sure we regulate that first and foremost, because the plant will let you know, for the most, part if it has too much water.
And we tend to water like we did outside when we bring them in,
Right.
and so we do overwater.
So you have it, Miss Barbara. Be careful, okay? And yes, you can remove those pups, all right? Here's our next viewer email. Can I prune my azaleas back now in the fall? And this is Sue from Cordova. Miss Jenny, can she prune them back now?
I wouldn't. Azaleas are best pruned within a 2 to 3 week period after they have bloomed. If you prune now, you're most likely going to destroy the buds that are forming for next year's blooms.
Exactly.
And you'll have very few if you prune this late in the season, I think.
Miss Mary?
What about if it's an encore and it blooms again during the fall? Still don't?
I wouldn't. I would cut them, I'd prune them back after the first blooms, and then I would just selectively prune for shaping or size control
Right.
or
Or if those
whatever.
flowers faded, I would,
Well,
of course, deadhead those.
Sure.
On the encores, I would do that. But no, you're right. Anything that pretty much blooms before July the 1st, after it blooms, cut them off.
Yeah.
Prune. That's when you prune. All right. Anything that blooms after July 1st should be pruned late winter, early spring.
Yeah, before the leaves
New
start.
wood. Right.
And azaleas usually bloom on old wood. So,
Yeah, so it's old wood.
so if we prune, then we're destroying next year's blooms.
Yes. Ladies, Master Gardeners, it's been fun.
It has
Fun.
been.
So thank you, Miss Jenny. Thank you, Miss Mary.
Thank you.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us. Is the half-hour show too short? Every week we have extra video we post online at familyplotgarden.com. Go watch it. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.